This is the Lord's message that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Listen to this, you elders. Pay attention, all inhabitants of the land. Has anything like this ever happened in your whole life or in the lifetime of your ancestors? Tell your children about it. Have your children tell their children and their children the following generation. What the Gazam locust left, the Arba locust consumed. What the Arba locust left, the Yelek locust consumed. And what the Yelek locust left, the Hazel locust consumed. Wake up, you drunkards, and weep. Wail, all you wine drinkers, because the sweet wine has been taken away from you. For a nation has invaded my land, mighty and without number. Their teeth are lion's teeth. They have the fangs of the lioness. They have destroyed my vines. They have turned my fig trees into mere splinters. They have completely stripped off the bark and thrown it aside. The twigs are stripped bare. Wail like a young virgin clothed in sackcloth. Lament the death of her husband-to-be. No one brings grain offerings or drink offerings to the temple of the Lord anymore. So the priests, those who serve the Lord, are in mourning. The crops of the field have been destroyed. The ground is mourning because the grain has perished. The fresh wine has dried up. The olive oil languishes. Be distressed, farmers. Wail, vineyard dressers, over the wheat and the barley, for the harvest of the field has perished. The vine has dried up. The fig tree languishes. The pomegranate, date, and apples as well. In fact, all the trees of the field have dried up. Indeed, the joy of the people have dried up. Get dressed and lament, you priest. Wail, you ministers at the altar. Come spend the night in sackcloth, you servants of my God, because no one brings grain offerings or drink offerings to the temple of God anymore. Announce a holy fast. Proclaim a sacred assembly. Gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land to the temple of the Lord your God and cry out to the Lord. How awful that day will be. For the day of the Lord is near, and it will come as destruction from the divine destroyer. Our food has been cut off right before our eyes. There is no longer any joy or gladness in the temple of our God. The grains of seed have shriveled beneath their shovels. Storehouses have been decimated. And granaries have been torn down because the grain has dried up. Listen to the cattle groan. The herds of livestock wander around in confusion because they have no pasture. Even the flocks of sheep are suffering. To you, O Lord, I call for help. For fire has burned up the pastures of the wilderness. Flames have razed all the trees in the field. Even the wild animals cry out to you. For the riverbeds have dried up. Fire has destroyed the pastures of the wilderness. All right, very exciting stuff here. Like destruction, total destruction is going on. Let's see, who is this going against? It is first, this comes from Joel, the son of Pethuel. We'll go look up those names in a second, but it's inhabitants of the land. Pay attention, all you inhabitants of the land. Listen to this, you elders. And then it's waking up the drunkards. Tell your children about us. Nothing has ever happened like this ever before. So let's go look up some names here that we have in the text. Let me move that over. There we go. So we're in Joel 1. See what Joel means. Son of Pethuel.
Strong's H 3100. Yoel.
All right, so Yahweh is God. Yahweh is God.
Strong's H 6602. Pethuel. Pethuel.
Yahweh as God is the son of vision of God. That's kind of fascinating. Okay. So he is bringing this vision. It is going to be so grandiose that you need to pay attention to it. Let me see if they have it in the footnotes here of all the different kinds of locusts. That just has eaten, repeated 3 times. 4 different words for locusts are used in this verse. It is uncertain whether these words represent different life stages of locusts or whether virtual synonyms are being used to underscore the severity of the damage caused by the relentless waves of locust invasion. The latter seems more likely. Many interpreters have understood the locust plague described here to be symbolic of invading armies that will devastate the land, but the symbols could also work in other ways, with real plagues of locusts described in the following verses as an invading army. The 4 Hebrew terms used in the verse are of uncertain meaning. English translations show a great deal of variation in dealing with these. The palmer worm, locust, cutter, gnawing locust, locust swarm, chewing locust, cutting locust, giant locust, swarm, locust swarm, swarming locust, great locust, common locust, cranker worm, hopper, grasshopper, creeping locust, young locust, crawling locust, hopping locust, and caterpillar grub, devourer, stripping locust, other locust, consuming locust, destroying locust. It is debated whether the Hebrew terms describe different species of locusts or similar insects describe different developmental stages of the same species, or are virtual synonyms. Given the uncertainty over their exact meaning, the present translation has transliterated the Hebrew words into a combination with the word locust. So Gazam locust, the Arba locust, the Yelek locust, and the Hazel locust. So got those all coming in, and it's like you're supposed to have a relentless feeling here. Like a locust swarm is a devastating thing, and there's very little that's left, but there's another swarm that comes after it and devours what's left, and another swarm that comes after it and devours what's left, and another swarm that comes after and devours what's left. This is like, it was hopeless. It's beyond hopeless. And then while all this was happening, what were you doing? You were getting drunk. You were getting drunk. You didn't pay attention. And now a nation of invading army has come afterwards, or it's a reference back to the locust as army. It could go either way. I kind of like the adding to, like you had 4 waves of natural disaster, and now you're going to have the enemies come and take you away. That's not a fun thing to think about. It's not a great thing to think about. And then it's just like going through detail after detail after detail of the stripping bare of everything, of the stripping bare of this, of the stripping bare of that. And what was the problem? Offerings have not happened in my temple. Offerings have not been in my temple, because no one brings grain offerings or drink offerings to the temple of God anymore. For grain offering and drink offering are withheld from the house of God. So, is this a literal, nobody is bringing me offerings, or you're only doing this out of obligation and your heart is not in it? You're not bringing offerings, you're bringing obligations. Therefore, if you're bringing obligations to check the box, you're not offering to God, you're not giving to God, you're not participating in relationship with God. So I don't know which exactly it is. It could go either way, I think. You could say it's a literal, nobody gave any. There's probably a remnant that does. But it's using hyperbolic language to say no one, because you wouldn't want to say, well, most people don't. It's not as compelling. It's nobody does. Nobody does. And the remnant's an exception, so you don't even mention it. But there's a solution here. Announce a holy fast, proclaim a sacred assembly, and be in sackcloth and ashes. Like, that's what you need to do. When you see that things are not going, you need to repent, you need to be mourning, you need to be in sackcloth and ashes. And those that don't know, sackcloth and ashes, the tearing of your garment, the putting on sackcloth, the putting on ashes, or throwing dust on your head, all of those things are taking and outwardly expressing what is internally going on for you. So you are an outward expression of the internal anger, sorrow, bitterness, all of those things. You are expressing those outwardly so that people can see them. And it's just like, it's on and on and on and on, relentless. And then the cattle are groaning, like the animals, the livestock. And even so bad, like cattle need a lot to graze on, sheep not so much. The sheep can't even find pasture. They're suffering. So it's total suffering going on. That's what we see going on. And then we've got wild animals are crying out. So even the wild animals, not even the pasture, the ones that are out there, not in the good places, they're crying out. So riverbeds dry. Like we'll have to keep going. Like, could there be more destruction? No, this is as bad as you can imagine. All right, there we go.